guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'll be covering part 2 to the story I was covering earlier, and where things left up, our guy was suddenly broken up with by Lacy after she found out that he was still legally married. She was going off back to school, finds out he's legally married, she's like, not happening, and breaks up with him. And obviously our guy was shocked. So we're going to pick up where things left off. He says here, or he continues, he says, "Yep guys, I hadn't legally divorced Christina yet. In my mind, I was legally protected by the separation agreement, which was binding by that point, and I didn't see the need to spend the time and money required to legalize a divorce." Dude, I don't know how you didn't completely 100% separate legally from that nut job Christina. And if you're getting serious with a girl like Lacy, who, again, you don't put him on a pedestal, but is one of the better ones, you don't want to screw something like that up with being legally married still. That's going to cause a problem when already her family has some, issues with your age and stuff like that. And not to mention, you said yourself, she knew you had a reputation for being kind of a player. But you live and you learn. He says, "Don't make the same mistake I did. Seek a legal divorce as soon as possible." Lacy finding out I wasn't a divorce, compiled with Lacy's own feelings and not wanting to commit to a serious relationship at that time, led to her breaking up with me. In my head, I knew that our relationship was time-stamped. I was dating a 21-year-old who was going into her fourth and final year of college to become a registered nurse. Uh-oh. Great. We all know the stereotype about that. But fortunately, she's going to be one of the good ones. But yes. Well, you know what? I always tell guys, don't do long-distance relationships. The same thing goes with the girls. She finds out you're married and she's going off to school and you're going to be separated. Probably is a good idea to break up. Until at least she's out and you get your shit together with your divorce. But the nurse thing, huh? Uh-huh. Well, after that, I immediately started the process of finalizing the divorce with Christina, and not just because of Lacy. I was never going to let my marriage to Christina spoil another opportunity for me again, and wanted to be clear and free for myself. Yeah, don't divorce Christina completely and legally just for Lacy. Do it for yourself. I knew that Lacy was committed to finishing school, and I was in no way going to stand in the way of that. Good, you shouldn't. When she broke things off with me, I let that be the end of it. I unfriended her on Facebook. I never texted her or reached out to her. I swallowed my pain and hurt and went no contact. My divorce was finalized in November 2012, sticking to all the terms of our separation agreement. Good, I'm glad you're finally separated. And by the way, good job with Lacy. She breaks up with you? Okay, wish you well. You unfriend her on Facebook. You don't reach out to her. You're not that guy on your knees crying and begging like you did in your first marriage. That's how you handle it like a fucking man. Most guys would do the opposite that we did the first time, on your knees begging and crying. You remember how your ex Christina reacted? I knew that Lacy was... I read that part. I immediately went right back to my old ways. It's hard to admit it, but I fell in love with Lacy that summer. So I went with the old adage, and the best way to get over a girl is to get under another one. Lacy broke up with me on a Saturday, and I had a woman in my bed by Monday night. She was an acquaintance of mine I had vaguely known that gave me her number back in the day. And guys, I never cheated on a woman. I want to mention that. I was in a committed relationship with. But somehow it felt like I was cheating on Lacy. You mean when you woke up with that girl the next morning after Lacy broke up with you, it still felt like you were cheating on her? Yeah, because, you love Lacy. It didn't feel good waking up to another woman. This woman was the exact opposite of Lacy. She craved attention and validation, always sending pictures and texting me constantly. This was the biggest red flag I learned from Christina. Once I realized this, I knew that things were not going to be going anywhere. Yeah, you don't need that drama. You're a dad. You're taking care of your little girl. You own your own company. You got employees depending on you and all that. You don't need one of these freaking attention-craving jackasses taking up your time and causing you drama. Well, from there, I stopped dating besides casual hookups and one-night stands. Ever since breaking up with Christina, I had a hard time. I had set a time frame for dating. My time frame was February 15th to the day before Thanksgiving. That was my dating season. At that time of the year was really important. I took this time to spoil my daughter and give her all my attention. You mean during the holidays? From February of 2013, I dated women here and there. By August, I began my first committed relationship to a woman, Jen, who was, surprise, 39 years old. You got Jessica's, I've got Angela's and Jennifer's. At SSM, no worries, I've already smacked myself for this more than once, and it's hard to admit it. I let Jen move in with me and my daughter after 2 months of dating. Smack! Again with this moving in with girls real quick crap. Look what happened with Christina. Guess what? It's a bad idea. But he has to learn. Well, now, I'm going to back up here. The first time it was just you, and now you have a daughter. You need to expose your daughter to one of these lunatics you just known for a few months. You're just trying to get over, what's her name, Lacy. I thought this was a genius idea. No, it was not a genius idea. Well, Jen came with 2 dogs and emotional baggage. By early October, I had oral surgery done, and that was very painful. It made me anxious. Jen was very uncaring and downright rude, to the point that the nurse taking care of me comforted me and basically said that Jen was being a bitch. This experience confirmed red flags I already knew were there, and I knew I made a huge fucking mistake. Well, I didn't make a big mistake. But you can also get out of that mistake. Well, after my surgery, Jen and I stopped by the grocery store. I got out of my truck and started walking in with Jen. I spotted Lacy and her mom. Oh, how interesting. As I walked by Lacy, she and I looked at one another and smiled. When we got into the store, Jen asked, "Who was that girl?" I told her it was Lacy, and Jen said, "Oh, really? I can tell she loves you, Kevin." I asked excitedly, "Really? You think she does?" Yeah, you just confirmed to Jen that obviously you're still in love with Lacy. Well, a week or so later, on Halloween 2013, Jen and I got into an argument. SSM, I swear to you, I saw this woman's eyes change from normal to evil, and I witnessed her inner demon. We've all been there. We've all had arguments with women, girlfriends, wives, all that. And we know, all of us guys, most of us know those eyes. The crazy eyes. I swear to God, I've seen red sometimes. I finally and swiftly had to end the relationship and get this woman the fuck out of my house. I told her to pack her shit. I'm taking my daughter trick-or-treating. My daughter and I left to go trick-or-treating in my brother's neighborhood. Well, how interesting that you're taking your daughter trick-or-treating in your bro's neighborhood, whose neighbor is Lacy's family, after you just saw Lacy in the store earlier the day, or pretty close to that. Interesting. While at my brother's house, I was passing out candy with my mom, while my daughter went out with her older cousin. Lacy walked up with her niece and nephew and was really shy and awkward. Oh, what a coincidence. There's Lacy. She did not say a word to me. When she walked away, my mom turned to me, slapped me in the back of my head, and asked me, "Kevin, what did you do to that girl?" And I told her I didn't do anything. Yeah, only moms can do that smack upside the head thing and get away with it. After trick-or-treating was over, my brother's neighborhood friends came over to hang out in the driveway and share some drinks. Lacy was there and her parents. I caught her looking at me several times, but she was still standoffish, and I soon left to take my daughter home and complete the mission of getting Jen out of my house. Lacy's not over you either, dude. When I got back home that night, after getting my daughter in bed, Jen and I started arguing again. Thankfully, she had indeed started packing her shit. While Jen and I were arguing, I got a text notification. Oh, gee, I wonder who that's from. Lacy had texted me simply saying, "It was really good seeing you tonight." I was already getting set on getting Jen out of my house, but this helped reaffirm that I still had options. At the end of the night, Jen asked if I wanted to have you-know-what one more time before she left, and I firmly told her no, as I was completely done with her and ready to move on. You're kicking her out, and she still wants to hook up with you? Yeah, so probably either she can get pregnant, or at least say you did some things and get revenge on you. The next morning, I loaded up my truck and moved Jen out of my house, dropping her off at her friend's house. A few weeks later, I decided to text Lacy back. Soon after, Lacy and I started dating again. By this point, Lacy had graduated college and started a career, but was still living with her parents. And you're back together. We could all see that was going to happen. I mean, come on here. You guys had a really good thing going, but she was still in school, and she got spooked. You being married and all. Can't totally blame her. But had a feeling this would happen. Within a few weeks of dating, she asked if she could meet my daughter. From there, we started doing things with my daughter. The first major thing being taking my daughter and Lacy's nephew to an amusement park around Christmas time. Lacy and I quickly fell back into our whirlwind romance. 2 days before Christmas, on December 23rd, 2013, Lacy asked me to be exclusive and to be her boyfriend. Hey, there you go. About 5 months after you saw her on the 4th of July. Oh, no, excuse me. No, a couple months after the Halloween thing. Well, that's great, man. I'm glad she's the one bringing up the relationship. That's how it should be. I set boundaries with her and explained to her that I had a daughter, and that is my number one priority, and I own a business, and that would take up the majority of my time. Lacy affirmed to me that she loved me and wanted me and my daughter to be a part of her life forever. Whoa. Now, ordinarily, I'd be like, danger, Will Robinson, holy shit. But since you already built up a thing with her before, there was time there, the back and forth thing. But even still, no need to rush things, but obviously, you're very important to her. You guys clicked from the get-go. That doesn't happen every day. Doesn't mean this whole soulmate crap, and I don't buy that, but there are people you can definitely very much click with in life. Happens with good friendships, too. Lacy started basically living with me shortly after we became official. Smack! Oh, for God's sakes, you're moving in again that quickly? Well, fortunately, this works out. Then in February in 2014, Lacy told me she was pregnant. It wasn't how we planned it, but we were both so excited. Our family, especially hers, were a bit weary, but we made the best of it. However, when we went in for our daughter's anatomy scan, we found out that her heart had stopped beating and we had lost her. Oh, man. Dude, I'm sorry. Losing our baby at 5 months was really rough. However, that experience brought us closer together. I'm glad it brought you closer together because a lot of times that would tear people apart. I knew that I wanted to marry Lacy and decided to ask her dad for her hand in marriage. At this point, I want to remind the audience that Lacy's dad is a retired Army Special Forces, and then worked as a private contractor in Afghanistan and Iraq for many years. In other words, he's a bad motherfucker. I was the most nervous I'd ever been in my life, so instead of asking for Lacy's hand, I somehow asked her dad to marry me. He probably got a good laugh out of that. He politely refused and said he's already taken. I was so embarrassed, but that funny moment helped ease the tension. He gave me his blessing and welcomed me into the family. They had already opened their hearts to my daughter and began loving her as a grandchild well before them. Well, that's great, man. A little too fast for me, but I know how the story ends, so this worked out for you. But ordinarily, I'd take a bit more time, a few years here, but what's done is done. Well, I proposed to Lacy in July 2014, and in 3 short months, her parents planned and threw on tens of thousands of dollars for the best wedding I could ever imagine. Well, that was very nice of them. A month after our wedding, I got Lacy pregnant again. I was on my grind at work and bought Lacy a home while retaining my first home as a rental property. Lacy then gave birth to our first baby boy in September 2015. Well, congratulations, Papa. So that's like, almost 10 years. Your boy's almost 10 years old now, because it's August. Unfortunately, a week after having our baby boy, my first wife, Christina, passed away from an accidental overdose of heroin that was laced with what they call grade death. Holy crap, man. I can't say I'm that surprised given how you described Christina's character, but still. Her 5-year-old son found her on the bathroom floor. We had no idea that she'd been ever doing heroin, and her death was a huge shock. After having her son, she jumped from boyfriend to boyfriend and never settled down or quit the partying lifestyle. The hardest day of my life was coming home to tell my baby girl that her mom had died. I wish Christina would have made better choices for her life. Holy crap, man. Well, you know what? I'm sorry for your daughter because regardless, that's still her mother. But then again, if we're being honest here, and I'm not going to bullshit, this is the same woman that repeatedly cheated on you in your house with a guy got you to hire him. And then when you wanted to divorce her, took $400, said, here's your daughter. And then living that lifestyle, the drugs, all that with a little boy there. The way I see it, the world's a better place. We don't need people like that. It sounds heartless to a lot of people, but that's how I think, I have zero tolerance for people like that. But now, there's that little boy who has no parents, and it's not his fault. I feel bad for that kid. Well, listen to this. My daughter and our family had struggled with the death of her mother. It had been rough. The son that she had after we broke up had especially suffered. Lacy and I ended up taking him in 3 years ago as his dad was unable to care for him and he had nowhere else to go. Holy crap, man. That is unbelievably kind of you and your wife. That wasn't your place to have to do that. Technically that was your daughter's younger brother and everything like that, and it's not that poor kid's fault, but that's an enormous thing you did. I can't imagine what you went through in the family courts to get custody and for the dad to terminate his, the rights of the kid. But wow. I know it's petty, but I take pride in being able to take care of the son of the man who cheated with my wife. It's the ultimate FU. But beyond that, I care for him. Lacy and I have done our best so we can give him a better life. He was dealt with some serious shit cards. Yeah, you guys are his angels, and that's great. And I'm sure one day when he gets older, he'll greatly appreciate that. And your daughter has her technical younger brother here. I hope they have a good relationship. But again, if you didn't do that, nobody would fault you. Most guys wouldn't do that. Well, moving forward, almost 11 years of marriage, Lacy and I have had 3 boys and a little girl together, bringing our grand total to 5, plus an extra with Christina's son. 6 kids? Holy crap, that's a busy house. Man, the holidays must be a circus. Lacy has stepped up and stepped in to be a mother to my first daughter. My daughter is now an adult and loves Lacy as a mother figure and a friend. That's awesome, man. That's great. Commitment and loyalty is the key to our marriage. And sex, of course. We obviously have our struggles. Lacy has told me more than once that she has to pay for the sins of another woman, which is unfortunately true. I'm still controlling and jealous, but Lacy takes it in her stride. Lacy stopped working in 2020 after giving birth to our 3rd son. She has been a stay-at-home mom since then. Well, with 6 kids, somebody's got to hold down the fort while you're off working. Damn, dude, 6 kids. As a side note, Lacy wants me to inform the audience of her opinion that nurses, now listen to this, nurses and teachers are inherently predisposed to cheating, and that correlation does not necessitate causation. Rather than it's a matter of statistics, as these are the 2 top-tier professions for females and are mostly female-dominated sectors, her words. Well, I beg to differ. Well, let me backtrack here. Not once did I ever say that all teachers and nurses are cheaters and do all these things that you hear about in these stories. I didn't say all, but a heck of a lot do, and I've been proof of this. I got like 4,000 videos on all 3 channels, and I probably have read another 10,000 freaking things that never came into a video of countless examples of nurses and teachers, particularly nurses. I've had guys from all over the freaking country and world talk about they're in the medical profession that again confirmed about the nurses. And I'm sure many of you guys have noticed a week doesn't go by where there's some article about a teacher, a pretty young teacher in her 20s or 30s, hooking up with some dudes, some young guys that are 14, 15 in high school. Does this mean they all do that? Of course not. But a hell of a lot do to make a certain, have guys be on their guard. Obviously, Lacy is one of the good ones, and that's awesome. But still, you can't blame me for, talking about that. And I'm going to continue having my jokes about the nurses and the teachers. And flight attendants. Don't forget the flight attendants. It says, I'm still working on my grind for myself in my beach town. I don't go surfing as much anymore, but my time has been replaced with my wife, my family, coaching Little League, and doing dad things. SSM, if you read this, I appreciate it. I'd love to hear my story, but if not, it felt good just writing it down. Bro, this is a great story. I'm really happy for you and your family. Sounds like you got a great situation going. And I'm so impressed how you grew up in the household you did with all the divorce and the drama and this and that. And no surprise, your first marriage turned out to be just like how you were raised. And you made mistakes. And you chose the wrong girl. And you took her back when you shouldn't have and all that. But at the end of the day, you got your great daughter out of it. You learned. And you met a great woman. And that's awesome. And I'm convinced if you had not been through the bad experiences that you did with your first wife and learned the hard way and became R-pilled, I don't think it would have gone the same with Lacy. I mean, Lacy sounds like an awesome girl. And I would say has a lot of very good values, which are rare nowadays, thank God. Probably because she had a strong masculine dad in the Special Forces. He set a good example and a good relationship with the mom and all that. But I'm getting off track here. I'm speculating. But she sounds like a darn good one. Obviously, it's worked out well. I'm very happy for you. But I think what you went through helped you become the man you are. And that helped it. I mean, let's be honest. She said she obviously was attracted to your bad boy charisma back then. That certainly helped, amongst other things. So, and also you toughened up. So I think all those things, it boils down to pretty much things kind of happen for a reason. And you got where you are, and here you are today. So that's awesome. So, guys, there you go. Our guy here has the last laugh. Messed up early in life. And obviously was done wrong by his ex, but now he's kicking butt in the world. Great family, great wife, great life. That's awesome. I just say keep doing what you're doing. Keep watching this content to help keep yourself sharp. And there you go. Have a great time with your family. And you're going to be a great role model to your boys one day, but also to your girls for the good type of guys that you get together with. So I wish all the best. So great story. I appreciate you writing in. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you got a great story. Definitely send it my way. strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And if it's a good one, I'll definitely cover it. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.